81 years after Akagi vanished into the Pacific, the flagship behind Pearl Harbor's infamous attack has finally been found, but not by chance. For decades, experts argued over her fate, and the official records clashed with unanswered questions. The clue that proved Akagi's identity rewrites everything we thought we knew about how history leaves its mark. So how did the carrier that led Japan's deadliest strike simply disappear until now? Akagi did not begin life as an aircraft carrier. She was laid down in 1920 as an Amagi-class battlecruiser, but the Washington Naval Treaty forced Japan to rethink its ambitions. The unfinished hull was converted into a carrier at Kure Naval Arsenal, launching in 1925 and entering service in 1927. That conversion was a major naval conversion. Early on, Akagi was a floating experiment. Her first form featured 3 stacked flight decks, a bold attempt to keep planes launching and landing without pause. But as the realities of flight operations set in, she was rebuilt in the late 1930s. The triple decks vanished and were replaced by a single sweeping 261-meter flight deck that stretched nearly the entire length of the ship. After the refit, she could carry up to 91 aircraft, fighters, bombers, and torpedo planes, making her one of the most powerful carriers afloat. One feature set Akagi apart. Her island superstructure rose on the port side, not the starboard. This unusual choice was not about looks. It let Akagi and her sister Kaga operate in tandem, launching and recovering aircraft with less risk of mid-air chaos. The design made Akagi a natural command ship, and by late 1941, she became the nerve center of Japan's first air fleet. On December 7, 1941, Vice Admiral Chuichi Nagumo stood on Akagi's bridge, 230 nautical miles north of Oahu. From there, he coordinated the launch of the planes that would strike Pearl Harbor. Every order, every launch cycle, every moment of coordination for the attack ran through Akagi's decks and communications rooms. Her engineering wasn't just about speed or firepower. It was about giving Japan's naval command the reach and control to change the course of a war. At 10:22 in the morning on June 4th, 1942, the calm above the Pacific shattered. 3 SBD Dauntless dive bombers from USS Enterprise broke through the clouds, each pilot searching for a target among the Japanese carriers below. Lieutenant Commander Richard Best fixed his sights on Akagi, the nerve center of the fleet. His bomb, a 1,000-pound armor-piercing giant, struck just behind the midships elevator, tearing through the flight deck and plunging into the crowded hangar. In that instant, aviation fuel and armed torpedoes turned Akagi's interior into a blast furnace. Flames leapt from the hangar, swallowing aircraft, men, and hope. The fire control teams fought back, but every response was met with new explosions. Smoke poured from the open wounds in the deck as heat warped steel and ammunition cooked off in rapid succession. By late afternoon, the order was given. Abandon ship. Survivors scrambled across the burning deck, some leaping into the sea as the carrier's fate became clear. Japanese destroyers Nawaki and Arashi circled, launching 4 torpedoes into Akagi's crippled hull after midnight. By dawn on June 5th, the flagship was gone. 267 crew members never left her. For the men who escaped, memories of that inferno would follow them for life. In the aftermath, the Pacific's most powerful carrier vanished beneath the waves. leaving only questions and a scar on the surface of history. Deep beneath the rolling blue of the Pacific, the search for Akagi stretched on for decades. Countless expeditions had combed the seafloor near Midway, guided by wartime coordinates and survivor accounts, but each sweep ended in silence. The ocean's depth, over 5,400 meters, kept its secrets well. Then, in October 2019, the research vessel Petrel arrived with a new approach. The team, led by a mix of marine archaeologists, sonar specialists, and naval historians, set out to scan hundreds of square nautical miles with high-resolution multi-beam sonar. Their mission was simple: find a shape on the seabed that matched the scale of a lost carrier. On October 20th, their patience paid off. The sonar returned an unmistakable anomaly, a massive elongated shadow, 261 meters long, resting upright on the ocean floor. The surrounding debris field sprawled outward, hinting at the violence that had sent the ship to the bottom. The dimensions lined up almost perfectly with Akagi's known length and beam. The location matched historical records from the final hours of the Battle of Midway. For the first time, there was hard evidence, geometry, and scale that could only belong to a capital ship lost in 1942. But sonar tells only part of the story. It reveals outlines and contours, not names or scars. The Petrel crew knew that visual confirmation would be needed before anyone could say, with certainty, that Akagi had been found. Still, the data was compelling. The hull's position, the spread of debris, and the absence of other large shipwrecks in the area all pointed to one conclusion. The team marked the coordinates, logged the sonar data, and prepared for the next phase, sending cameras into the abyss to capture what the ocean had hidden for nearly 8 decades. The discovery electrified the world of naval history. After years of fruitless searching, the persistence of the Petrel team had placed a wartime legend back on the map. The Pacific had finally given up its secret, but the full story of Akagi's fate was still waiting in the darkness below. What single clue on the seafloor finally proved this wreck was Akagi? That question lingered for decades, echoing through every sonar scan and every failed expedition. In September 2023, the Ocean Exploration Trust's remotely operated vehicle descended into the darkness, its lights sweeping across the silent colossus. The remotely operated vehicle pilots, joined by historians and archaeologists watching live from around the world, guided the submersible in a slow, careful orbit. Each rivet and scar told part of the story, but one detail stood out, a detail that no other lost carrier could claim. There, rising from the battered hull, was the unmistakable silhouette of an island superstructure on the port side. Not the starboard, as seen on every other Japanese fleet carrier. This architectural quirk, born from tactical necessity, became the forensic fingerprint that solved the mystery. The vehicle's cameras lingered on the structure, confirming its dimensions and placement against pre-war blueprints. No other ship in the Imperial Navy's arsenal had this arrangement. The portside island, designed to allow Akagi and her sister Kaga to launch and recover planes in tandem, was now the key to her identity. The wreck's length matched Akagi's known measurements, 261 meters from bow to stern. The debris field, scattered across the seabed, traced the violence of her final hours. But it was the island's location, rising from the left flank of the shattered flight deck, that ended all debate. As the survey continued, the submersible revealed more clues. Gaping breaches below the waterline showed where torpedoes struck, and the midship devastation showed where a single bomb had turned the hangar into an inferno. Anti-aircraft guns sat frozen in place, their barrels still pointing skyward, as if waiting for an attack that would never come. The ship's forward sections remained eerily intact, while the center bore the scars of fire and explosion. Each pass of the vehicle added weight to the identification, but none carried the certainty of that portside island. For the team, pilots, scientists, and observers alike, there was a sense of solemn responsibility. Akagi was more than a wreck. She was a war grave, the final resting place for 267 sailors lost in the chaos of Midway. The expedition honored this, beginning and ending each dive with a moment of silence. In the end, it was not a nameplate or a serial number that confirmed Akagi's identity, but a single, deliberate choice in her design. The portside island, once a symbol of innovation, now stands as a memorial, proof that the Pacific's most elusive flagship had finally been found. 81 years on, Akagi's wreck remains an unblinking witness to a war that reshaped the Pacific. As new technologies illuminate the deep, history's hardest questions surface again, reminding us that what we leave beneath the waves still shapes the world above. What stories do we risk forgetting?